All right, so if you're like me, when you're out shooting, you want to try different things. So a lot of times when I'm out, I'm going to try doing an HDR, or I want to do a time lapse, or probably the most common thing that I do is a long exposure. But when I do exposure, especially when I'm doing really long exposures, the thing that frustrates me the most is that I never can tell exactly how long the exposure is going for, because when I set my camera to bulb, it turns the display off, so there's no countdown or count up like it's been going for 40 seconds, 45 seconds, that sort of thing. So I'm excited because just the other day I got a new product called the Spark, which is this tiny little thing, and it's a remote. It's by Colorado-based Alpine Labs, and when I say it's small, I mean it is tiny. And what I want to do is go over why I think this thing is really cool. Now, it works with pretty much all major camera manufacturers. You go to their website and you can select which manufacturer and then which camera model, and that'll determine which cable you're supposed to get. So what I want to do is do a quick review. We'll head over to the top-down camera over here, and I am going to show you how the Spark works with the brand new Sony a7R Mark III, which is really nice because this camera just started shipping yesterday, and to have this accessory already work with it is really nice. So let's check that out. All right, so here is the box, pretty unassuming. You've got a picture of the Spark unit right in the front, and on the back, the Alpine Labs logo, designed in Boulder, Colorado. So a little finger push right there, and we have the unit. So it's kind of hard to explain just how small this really is. It's about the size of like a matchbox, but half the height, and it's really small, really thin, which I like. And basically to it, there's the button. This is the primary kind of trigger button. Then over here, this is where you connect the charging cable. One side of it, the other side will go either to a charger or to the camera. And there is an LED that when you press the button, it kind of blinks like that. So that's kind of cool. And you can see it from all sides. Finally, on the bottom, there is kind of a slot for the hot shoe of a camera. So that's nice. And there's a rechargeable battery over here, so you can just charge this by connecting this cable. Then there is the kind of guide that walks you through the different modes of shooting, and don't need that right now. Here is the cable that I was just mentioning. So this side connects to the actual remote. This side connects to your camera or to, a USB charger. And then finally, there is a nifty little pouch, which I can appreciate. All right, so let's put this off to the side here, and you can see basically all you need to do is plug this in and you're good to go. Now, I have the brand new Sony a7R Mark III. I just got this yesterday, and I'm very excited to start using it, especially because to have a remote for this is really nice. So let's walk through some of the ways that you can use the Spark. So first thing I'm going to do is remove the hot shoe protector right here. I'll put it off to the side. And to show you, you take the Spark and you can just slide it in. And again, just very, very low profile. It doesn't stick up very high, doesn't stick out. So that's really nice. And the most basic way we can turn this camera on now is if I take the cable, I'll connect it right here, and then I'll connect the other side over here to the micro USB. And I have to say, I'm so excited to have USB-C on this camera. So anyway, the most basic way is press, and you can take it out of the hot shoe if you want, and just kind of, so that's your tethered remote. So the second way to use it would, as you can expect, be not tethered. So I can use it for infrared, and just from the front or the back. And basically what's happening, the reason why it's taking a second is because it's trying to focus on this right here, which is too close. But to illustrate, you just press the button. And if I take a step back, I'm probably 4 feet, still working. Let me go back even more. And yeah, so I'm about 6 feet from the camera. It's working fine, which is awesome. All right. So these are the two kind of most obvious ways that you would use the Spark remote. Now, the third way, and arguably the most powerful way, is connecting the cable again. So connecting this side and then connecting this side. And so I've got my iPhone 10 over here, and I've already downloaded the Spark app. So this is available for iOS and Android. We'll just launch it. And then pretty much right away, it detects the Spark. So I have my Spark set to Skynet SPK. You can go into the settings, the devices, and then rename the device to whatever you want. So these are the main modes. You've got photo, time-lapse, long exposure, HDR, and photo booth. So it's using Bluetooth to connect the app to the remote. So watch, in photo mode, I just press it and it exposes. Then there are some other cool modes. There's time-lapse mode, which allows you to set the interval in between each photo and then how long you want it to go. And it'll tell you how many photos and how long that video is going to be. Long exposure is what I'm most excited about because it allows me to dial in if I want a specific duration, and I can tap on the minutes to adjust the minutes and the seconds, or I can just go into bulb mode. In bulb mode, you're going to want to set the camera to bulb. So I'm shooting in manual right now, and I'm just adjusting the exposure to bulb. So there's bulb, and now I'll just press start, and it starts going. And here's the best thing. It shows a timer, and to me, this is worth its weight in gold because I always wonder how long an exposure is going for because it's not showing anything on the camera whatsoever, which sucks. But I can understand probably why, if you're going for long exposure, you probably don't want to have any kind of screens on. Still, when I'm done here, I'll just go and end it. And it stops. Beautiful. Then there's HDR. Now, HDR arguably is becoming less and less relevant with modern cameras because, for instance, with the Sony, I can control, I can have up to 7 brackets at different stop increments, EV increments. But here, if I want, I can control it as well. I can set the shutter speed, the base exposure shutter speed, then how many brackets I want, and then, you know, what the exposure value increases in between each of those brackets. So that's pretty straightforward there. And it works well. You know, here, if I set it to 1/6 of a second, for example, so I'm going to adjust my shutter here to 1/6. And I'll say I want 9 exposures at, I'll just use 5 exposures at one stop in between. And so press that. And there I go. I mean, it has all the exposure that I need. So that's kind of cool there. I mean, I'm not going to lie, that's pretty cool. Although, remember, you can get that done in most cameras these days. Then there's photo booth, which sounds like what it is if you have your camera on a tripod. This is kind of like a more powerful self-timer. You can specify how many seconds in between each frame and then how many frames. And then you hit the start button, run in front of the camera, and it's just going to take a bunch of photos of you without changing any of the settings. So all in all, I mean, the app itself is quick. I do kind of wish it was optimized for the iPhone 10, but that's just me having my first world champagne problems right now. I'm sure it'll be updated in the future, but all in all, it picks up and connects to the Spark very, very quickly. And like I said, I mean, it's just a really nice, really thin remote compared to some of the other ones. And speaking of which, here are some other options. So this is the most generic remote I've ever seen. It's by Apteka. It says remote control for Sony. There's nothing to this. It's shoot and then a 2-second delay shot using infrared. So the Spark can do that, and it can do a lot more. So we've got that covered. Then this is Sony's answer to wireless or remote control. And you basically connect this receiver in the hot shoe and connect it to the micro USB port. And then you've got a controller here, which gives you some functionality for video as well as zooming. If you have power zoom, you can go tele and wide, and then you can get your kind of, you know, regular exposure or, you know, lock it in place for a bulb. But it's very expensive, and I found this to be quite flaky. It does require these AAA batteries, which, you know, okay. But all in all, I've had this for a while. I don't use it very often because, like I said, I've had very flaky experiences with it. And you have to have just kind of like a bunch of different things with you. Whereas with the Spark, you've got it kind of on the camera sitting in the hot shoe, short cable, and then you can use your phone to control it with relative ease. And it's a lot more functional than just the regular Sony cable or that Apteka. So I hope you enjoyed that. Let me know if you have any questions. Leave any of your questions in the comments below. Hit that thumbs up. Let me know if you like this video, and be sure to subscribe for more videos. All right, everyone, I'll see you on the next one.